Alright, here we are back in the 2023 Ford Bronco. Now, I just want to do this video here to go over my 1-year summary of ownership of one of these vehicles. And this is actually my primary daily driver. And I actually bought this vehicle back in December of 2022. And here we are, it's actually January 1st, 2024, but essentially it's been just over a year of full ownership. So actually I need to get gas in the vehicle and stuff, but I figured I'd take you guys along for another little quick drive. And I'm by myself right now. Last time we had my son in the back, but he's in the nice warm cozy atmosphere of our house. And I just wanted to talk about pretty much what I've come to learn with this vehicle, and some of the things I wish were different, some of the things I really like, some things I can kind of live with but not too huge fan of, stuff along those lines, just in case you are still considering a Ford Bronco. If you guys don't know, if you're coming into this video for the first time with the Bronco, I do have a video pretty much essentially after I picked it up to talk about it. And so this is just a follow-up video essentially with the idea behind it of what's it been like owning a Ford Bronco as a daily driver. And what were things, are there anything I would change? Is there anything I wish I added? So on and so forth. So let's go ahead and buckle up and let's go for a little bit of drive and talk about it. Probably the common questions you'd probably ask somebody is, if you're getting a Ford Bronco in the trim that I have, is what does the Sasquatch feel like when you're driving on the road? And does it hinder anything in regards to how it drives? Is there anything that hinders in regards to gas mileage? Is there any issues with it? So let's start there with the Sasquatch package. I'm really glad I went with it because it completes the look that I wanted. Now, again, that's more of a subjective kind of thing to talk about. But with the bigger tires and the suspension and stuff like that, everyday road driving on this vehicle is really, really nice. People usually complain about, with bigger tires like this, the road noise. Now the crazy thing is, I usually don't hear tire noise on this car. It's usually all from the roof here. This is a hard top, it's a 2-door. So there's always been complaints about either the sound coming through the hard top or soft top. But nonetheless, like, there's still wind noise that you're getting through the hard top. And I noticed that through the more mileage and stuff, and I have taken these roof panels off and stuff during the summer a few times. I'll talk about that here in just a second in regards to how I feel about that. But there'll be times where I just feel like the fitment and stuff, after kind of being broken in and going through a bunch of heat cycles through summer and stuff like that, that it seems to have let in a little bit more road noise than I'm used to, especially when the vehicle was new. Now granted, there was still wind noise coming through and stuff every so often, especially on a high wind day. And I drive this vehicle on the highway a lot, so you're still getting road noise nonetheless. But it just seems like it's a little bit more noisier now in regards to with the ownership after a year's worth of time. Now I haven't noticed it getting any worse, so I don't expect it to get any worse. But again, just one of those things to think about. I've actually had people call me and talk about how much they complain, how much they hate the wind noise coming through on a soft top vehicle. So I can kind of see that, it makes sense with just regards to the nature of the game there. So, but anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about taking the roof panels off and stuff like that. So, really simple to do on the front 2 panels. I've never taken the rear section off before because it's kind of inconvenient and I have nowhere to put something like that right now. It'd pretty much take up my whole garage and I'd not be able to park a vehicle in it. So essentially, what I found is with taking the front roof panels off, the way the wind actually hits the vehicle, of course the windshield being more vertical instead of having a lot more horizontal or a lot more angled of a windshield, it seems like the way that the air catches the windshield, it's actually scooping a lot of air back into the cab. And I noticed one time after work, I was taking my son home and he was just getting blasted in the face with some air, and I was feeling great up here. So as long as you don't have any passengers in the rear of the vehicle, it seems to be okay. The frameless doors, it's another thing to talk about. I noticed also with being the doors being frameless that if, say, you roll down the window for whatever reason and you're driving on the highway or somewhere at moderate speed, say 45 to 50 miles an hour or higher, When you go to roll them back up, there's a lot of wind force that they're fighting, and they don't seal up against the frame of the actual weather strip of the door that well. And I noticed that a few times, especially on a really windy day, or if I'm traveling anywhere at speeds, that it would just be a hard time. I'd hear a horrible whistling noise coming through the corner, and actually, if I push hard enough, you can actually hear wind coming through. So yeah, these don't seal up the greatest, especially if you have to roll your window down for any reason, and then bring it back up when you're at speeds. Now, if you're stopped, of course, it has a chance to actually get back up and seal properly. So another little thing to think about. Again, not the end of the world, but it's just one of those little annoyances with this vehicle that probably could be fixed a little bit. I kind of don't like about the vehicle that I wish that could actually be fixed if Ford were to make some changes. Passenger seat, my son, being a toddler, he likes to crawl into the back to get into his car seat. Pretty much anyone that wants to get back into the back seat, say an adult. The one thing I don't like is that the front seats do not lock into position when you fold them forward for people to gain entry to the rear. So one thing I wish Ford would do, and maybe they can, who knows, or maybe something could be retrofitted, I don't know, is having a locking option for when you clip the rear seat back and clip it forward and move it forward for entry in the rear, that the seat would lock into the front position, and then you can just release it to go back into its previous position. I'm not sure how hard or easy that would be, but it just would be a more convenient thing, especially if you're parked up on a hill and you go to move the seat forward, you have to hold it for someone to gain entry. If it was locked into position, it'd be much, much easier, especially if you're, say, or just, you know, storing cargo in the rear, right? If you're going to the front seat, not the rear hatch. So one little thing that I found a little bit of annoyance, I think that could be fixed and would solve a lot of issues. In regards to good stuff, driving this thing daily, fantastic. You would think that people would complain about the gas mileage or how big it is or something along those lines, or how it handles. This thing is an absolute breeze to drive. It's fantastic. I love the visibility. This is probably one of the best visibility vehicles you can ask for. Being a two-door, the doors being a little bit longer, the glass is huge, the windshield is flat, very clear, and even though I do have a car seat and the seat's up, the rear glass is actually very simple as well, even with that giant tire in the back. So good visibility all around. Now, if you were to, say, jump into the aftermarket and put bigger wheels and tires on there, you're probably going to lose rear visibility. So, you know, you get what you pay for there in regards to that. But in stock form with the Sasquatch, really good drivability and visibility. So, in regards to drivability, gas mileage wise, surprisingly, this car, or this Bronco, is only rated to right around, I think it was 17 miles per gallon in city, and 18 on the highway, or maybe it was 15. I can't remember. I have to look at my window sticker, but gas mileage was not rated very highly on this vehicle. It's funny, I just see a cactus gray Bronco taking off right now. It's got aftermarket wheels and tires. It's a four-door. Something I found, you know, just in my town, is that there are several Broncos around here, so it's a very popular vehicle around here, but they're all four-door, and hardly ever see any two-door vehicles, so it's probably a shock for people to see a two-door around here. But at the same time, the two-doors were kind of the harder one to get, the one that Ford didn't make a ton of, so I can understand that. But in regards to gas mileage, my car, I drive this car on the highway a lot, and surprisingly, my gas mileage right now, I'm at 18.6 average miles per gallon. Not terrible, all things considered. Again, it's the 4-cylinder model, but it is the Sasquatch, which I could probably average about 20 miles per gallon, maybe 21, if I had the non-Sasquatch's standard Big Bend. But the one thing I wish that this thing had, and if Ford had found out another way to do it, I'd be all for it, is, in regards to gas mileage, is put a bigger gas tank in this thing. I don't remember exactly how many gallons this holds. It's maybe 16, maybe 15 or 16, but it's too small. I average about 300 miles per tank in this thing, and again, it's mostly highway driving. That's why I'm driving to the gas station. It feels like with my commute's about 25 miles a day. I'm sorry, it's about 50 miles a day back to and from work, and it seems like I'm just going through. I feel like I'm at the gas station all the time. But in reality, I'm only averaging about 300 miles per tank, and I'm always filling up right at when I hit about a quarter tank or something like that. I always like to have more gas in the vehicle when it's in the winter months, because you never know what's going to happen. But just find it a little odd that, you know, that's happening. And I wish that Ford would have put just a little bit bigger of a gas tank, say like an 18 or 20 gallon, you know, figure out a way to put a bigger tank in one of these things. Hopefully they do that in the future, because if you can get like 350 to 380 a tank, it just seems like with it going further, it'd make it more useful. I know that the four-door Broncos do have bigger gas tanks, and they can get that more mileage out of a tank of fuel. But it's just one of those things, like, I wish that they would do something about that, just because it just make this driving experience more pleasurable, instead of like, you go a couple days after you fill up and go, crap, I'm gonna have to get some gas here in probably another couple days. So it's just one of those things that I wish Ford would do. So as we end this section of the video here, just want to talk about things that I would possibly change. You know, when people ask, like, okay, you've had the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder engine for a while now, would you change and go to the twin turbo V6? The honest answer to that is no. I've been perfectly happy with this 2.3 liter turbo vehicle, turbo Bronco, I should say. It's been perfectly fine. Surprising miles per gallon is a plus, but, you know, surprisingly, this thing gets up and goes out of its own way, no problem. This vehicle doesn't need to be upgraded to go fast. If I want to go fast, I have, you know, several Mustangs that have a lot more horsepower than this thing does if I want to go fast. But as an everyday vehicle, it's perfectly fine. It can go up and down the highway, no problem. It's no problem getting up to speed. It doesn't feel like it's ever like dragging itself or anything along those lines. But I wouldn't change the engine. And another thing is, would you go back, instead of getting the Sasquatch, would you go with, say, like the Standard? And honestly, no. I still love the look of this vehicle. 1 year in, I haven't gotten jaded at all. I haven't thought, well, this is kind of a bummer or anything along those lines. The driving experience of this thing, I still love it. Every much so since day one. Now, the only thing I might possibly would think about changing, and I considered this, is the color of the vehicle. This Velocity Blue is a good looking color, but it only fits certain vehicles. If you look at, I saw a 4-door soft top Bronco in this color that was a non-Sasquatch, and I don't know what trim it was, but it had one of the trims that had the painted fender flares in Velocity Blue, and it didn't look right. So I don't know, maybe if it was a different color, maybe it'd look better. But in regards to this vehicle in this trim, the only other color I would consider is the eruption green, or I'd consider the green. The green with the carbonized gray top and the fender flares and stuff along those lines has a really good look to it, and I'd highly consider it because it just has a good look overall. And that's the only reason that you'd probably get different paint colors, if, you know, whatever tickles your fancy and whatever you think would work with it. Because again, color is subjective to what people like. I didn't really like any of the other colors. I considered the hot pepper red for a second, but of course I've seen those in person. I know what the real color kind of looks like. Kind of looks like a copperish orange, and it looks okay on a Bronco, but not. It just doesn't do it for me. The darker colors seem to do the best, even though I got a blue vehicle. If they had a darker blue, I'd probably go with it, but I'd say that if I was to change the color or get a different one and get a different color, it'd probably be the green. That's the only thing I'd probably change. Beyond that, like, I'm happy with the blue. I don't see too many blue ones around. I don't know if it's just because it's not a very popular color, or the combination isn't super popular. Again, I already mentioned that you don't see very many 2-door Broncos around here, and I don't see, all the Broncos I do see are either in the Area 51, Cactus Gray, Black, or Race Red. That's all I really see around here. So Velocity Blue ones I rarely ever see, and I also rarely ever see 2-door. But I can understand that people think that the 4-door is probably more practical, and I can understand that. So would I change going from a 2-door to a 4-door? That's another thing. And that's probably the last point I'll make. Would I, if I were to change it and do it all over again, get a green one, keep Sasquatch, keep 2.3, but would I go 4-door? No, I would not. I'm super happy with the 2-door. And even though I do lose a ton of cargo space, and I know this for a fact because I've had to haul some stuff in here before, Yes, you lose a lot of space, but it's perfectly fine for my situation. And that's one thing that people really need to consider. Is it more convenient to probably have 4 doors and a bigger cargo area? Sure, but are you really going to utilize any of it? Because you got to remember that the 4 door is more expensive, and beyond that, like if you go with any other item and stuff like that, and depending on the engine combination, you might lose miles per gallon. You might not be utilizing what you're paying for. So again, just more things to consider. So where I'm at, the only thing I might possibly consider changing if I were to buy, say, a different Bronco, would be a 2-door Big Bend Sasquatch 2.3 liter interruption green. So that's probably the only thing I would change, maybe. But beyond that, I'm super happy with the vehicle. I love the way this thing drives. It's a fantastic little daily driver. I just wish that there would be locking options for the seats, so that way when you move them, they lock and you can unlock them. And I wish that this had a bigger gas tank, so that way you could get more miles out of a tank of gas. Beyond that, that's all I'd really consider. I just think that if you're considering a Bronco, it might be worth it to consider a 2-door, but I can understand that they're still a little bit more harder to get. Ford's still producing a lot more 4 doors, I get it. But a 2-door, they are less expensive, and you can only get them in the hardtop, so that's another nice thing. So just something to think about. I did look into possibly upgrading to a 2024 model, but the weird thing is Ford got rid of the base model. Some people say that's a good thing, some people say that's a bad thing. I'm not sure where I lay on that. But one thing I did notice is that the price increase for this exact spec of this exact Bronco is up $7 grand. And I know people are saying, hey, it's only up, you know, a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there, $1,000 here. For this exact spec, this is considered a base model now. The Big Bend is a base model. So for this exact spec, it was $7 grand more. So that pretty much killed any plans I had to get a 2024. But in reality, I'm super happy with my 2023 Ford Bronco. I got it brand new, got it ahead of schedule, and I'm super happy that I did. I have no plans of getting rid of it. It's been a fantastic vehicle for me and the family, and hopefully it's perfectly fine for many more years to come. And the last thing is I've had no major issues with the vehicle. I've had no major issues with the vehicle. Only one little warranty claim for, I'd say, I think it was just like window adjustment and stuff like that. But no other issues, no problems. So far so good, 1 year in. So I'm here to get gas. I'm at the gas station, but I wanted to at least, you know, brief you guys on 1 year of ownership on the Ford Bronco. So that's pretty much going to do it. And I hope you guys got some enjoyment or learned some things if you're considering a Bronco, or if you're experiencing similar love or wish you could have certain things changed on your Bronco. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. But anyway, if you like my content, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that way you don't miss out any new content coming to the channel. Take care. We'll see you in the next video.